Kids First. Today, we're thrilled to spotlight Vanessa Lachey, who will join Wilmer Valderrama as a USO Global Ambassador for 2024. Having a dedicated decade of service as a USO Global Ambassador, Wilmer Valderrama welcomes Vanessa for this vital role. Together, they are committed to enhancing the well-being of the America's military, personnel, and their families. The USO, a cornerstone of support since 1941, benefits from their combined efforts to further its mission. Okay, so I want to make sure I'm saying this right, Mr. Valderrama?
That's perfect. Perfect.
Okay, what inspired you to become a USO Global Ambassador?
Well, I'm an immigrant myself. I came to the United States back in 93, 94. I was 13 years old. English was my second language. And coming to this country, realizing the opportunities that it had given me, was something I'd never forgot. So the American dream was very much a part of like what I am and what our family, really had embraced. And that if you come to America, you get up earlier than everybody else, you put a few more hours, then anything is possible, and in my mid 20s, I came across two young men wearing uniforms at the Newark airport, and they came up to me, asked permission to speak, and I say granted. And they were like, they said, hey, I just wanted to say that after a long day of doing what we do, watching you, and you making us laugh was it's a big deal for us, so just want to say thank you. And I said, wow, you watched my work in the bases in Iraq and Afghanistan, like, what, this is crazy. And so I went to my team and I said, hey, I think it'd be really funny if I just showed up to any one of these bases and just kind of had fun with them. We called the USO, and it was that easy. Ever since then, I'm going on almost 20 years of USO trips and performances, and has been one of the biggest callings of my life to be able to give that much to the men and women that have made this dream that I'm living every day possible.
That's such a cool story to hear. I would have never guessed that that's kind of how it happened, but thank you for sharing. Okay, Mrs. Lachey, with Mr. Valderrama,
Mhm.
who has been a USO Global Ambassador for 10 years, how do you plan to harness each other's strengths and experiences in this collaboration?
That's a great question. Wilmer, you have been an ambassador. Well, you've been with the USO for over 20 years or just
Just
around 20,
about
just
almost
about
20
20
years.
years.
Yeah.
Um, which is crazy because you're, not
I
that
mean, I'm
old.
22.
So it's,
Yeah, since I was 2 years old.
these are old people jokes.
Yes.
Sorry. But I love to add on to Wilmer's story about how he wanted to help out and how he got started. I am actually a daughter of the military. My family served in the Air Force. My dad's entire career was in the Air Force, and he retired as Chief Manillo. And I'm honored that this is the way that I can give back without wearing the uniform. I can give back to the servicemen and women and to their families because I was a young daughter growing up in the military overseas. I was a young daughter whose dad went off to fight wars. I did have fears. I did have thoughts. I did have questions. And so now I can add to what Wilmer's already bringing. I can add that firsthand perspective. I can be there in a way that I think can relate to these families that only someone who's gone through it can do.
So you really want to give other families that same feeling that you got when you were younger or the same feeling that they gave you?
100%. It's a support, and it's a sisterhood and a brotherhood that is something that we can share together. And it's just giving them bits of home, and bits of love that can just say thank you for all that you do, thank you for all that you are sacrificing as the family member of the service member, and thank you to the service member for everything that they're doing and that they're sacrificing for our country.
Beautiful. Okay, Mr. Valderrama, having served as a USO Global Ambassador for a decade, could you share some specific moments from your tours that deeply resonated with you and fueled your commitment to this cause?
No, absolutely. I mean, I was also taken back to discovering that how many cultures actually are served in our country as well. To be able to see that no matter what color you are, wearing that uniform, you're a part of something bigger than yourself. And so that was one of the first things where I was like, oh my God, there's a lot of Latinos wearing the uniform. That's amazing. There's, I mean, in the idea that stereotypically somehow entertainment has made it look a certain way, but really when you go there, you realize what an amazing nonpartisan institution this really is. How these individuals are out there, becoming one, really, and moving together because is what brotherhood and sisterhood does. And seeing beyond that, I felt like, wow, what a great example. So it was one of the first things I was like, I couldn't wait to bring back to America and be like, you don't understand, there's so many of us over there, so that was pretty cool. And and I think when you talk about memories, I've had really interesting moments through the USO that it would be really hard to describe to anyone what it would feel like. But imagine, you're flying with the vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs. You end up in Camp Liberty, which happens to be a former Saddam Hussein's palace. And you're sitting, in this balcony, with two of the colonels that flank the vice chairman. And, you're smoking a cigar and Black Hawks are flying over your head and you're 2 rooms over from his throne. And it was one of the most surreal moments of my life that said, wow, this is this little boy that came to America with a dream, didn't know how to speak English, and now I'm sitting here paying it forward in the most extraordinary circumstances, things that you just couldn't really describe to any of your friends. You're like, I don't even know how to actually make them feel what I felt that day. And beyond that is the people, is the stories. I've heard, thousands of stories and met thousands of soldiers. And every single one of them gave me a deep dive on the very diverse experience that every single one of them had. But in retrospect, what they all had in common, and it's that commonality, the family aspect, the mentality of all of us are one when we wear this uniform. That all of that stuff I could never forget. And and then there's a lot of stuff where like you're traveling for 6 days, you're doing about 10 shows. Maybe showering is not in the cards for you today.
So there's just a wide range of memories and moments that like you can't even describe or you
Yes.
don't exactly know how to tell the story.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Experience.
Mrs. Lachey, you have influential platforms. How do you leverage your position in the entertainment industry to raise awareness about the needs of the military community and entertainment?
It's kind of parlaying what Wilmer said when he met those young servicemen early on, and they said at the end of a long day, when you're out in these conditions, to be able to laugh and all come together and watch a TV show that has nothing to do with what you're doing. It's a tiny escape, and it fills your cup. It's a great release. It's a great way to just remind yourself that life is good. And we are fortunate. I remember my dad growing up, he would never watch the football games live because he was always stationed away. So whenever we would call, he's like, don't tell me who won the game because they're getting the VHS tape.
Oh, that's right.
And then they're going to watch it a week or 2 weeks later or months later. Yeah. So it was entertainment. That was the way: music, comedy, acting, all of these outlets that are what we consider the entertainment, movies. This is what is their mental escape, because what they are doing is carrying a massive load, and day in, day out, they are always on alert. They're always working hard, and they're doing a bigger picture for all of us to be able to live this beautiful life with freedom. And so to have that escape is something that we take for granted getting to do. Well, a lot of us take for granted getting to do. And I'm excited that I can, with Wilmer, bring that entertainment, bring those laughs, bring that bit of home, if you will, to them, and be a part of that.
Amazing. Okay. Mr. Valderrama, your podcast, Essential Voices with Wilmer Valderrama, focuses on essential workers. How do you use the connections between the stories shared on your podcast and your role as a U.S. Global Ambassador?
Wow.
Well, it's a great question. I think there's so many ways in which we as ambassadors can tell us the story of the USO. I mean, beyond showing up for our armed forces and for our men and women of the military, beyond going to the bases around the world, there is another mission statement to allow the general public and all families and everyone at home to understand how they can support the USO. The USO is not a government institution. It's a nonprofit organization that's operational, and runway and sustainability relies on the good of all of us to donate, to grant and support and volunteer. So it's important for us to also raise awareness for that. The fact that you can go to uso.org, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what it is. And you can go and find a role in how you want to contribute to the ongoing operation that the USO is, from volunteering to going around the world and volunteering at all the USO centers, which the USO centers are like this beautiful sanctuary of relief. You can go there, you can play some video games, you can have a cup of coffee, you can have some popcorn, you can play a game, you can have calling cards, you have internet, you have Wi-Fi, you can communicate with your family members. There's so many services that the USO centers
Even
actually
just
provide.
messages.
Yeah, even just messages, from every base. And and then beyond that, I think it's important to understand what our strengths are as ambassadors. What tools, what resources we have that we can lend to the organization to continue to expand and widen the signal of the capabilities of the organization. But I've been very blessed to be able to get inventive with that, and all the resources also could mean, like, I'm gonna call my friend Vanessa and be like, hey, two of us is better than one. Like we gotta get in the game together. Then when you find like-minded individuals like Vanessa that wants to be a part of not just that mission, but really wants to commit her time to what we're up to, it goes to tell you that the mission's not over, and until everyone comes home, we're going to continue to show up.
Thank you so much for this interview. I felt like I've learned so much more in just these couple of minutes. Thank you guys so much for talking with me, and this wraps up everything.
Thank you. You were super prepared, very professional,
prepared.
and I'm
We
looking
Thank
forward.
you. Thank you, Mrs. Lachey and Mr. Valderrama, for talking with me today about USO's powerful mission. I'm Hanadie, reporting for Kids First. Be sure to subscribe to our channel to stay informed about upcoming films. Thank you. Bye.